There are 3 divisions now in 2009, and there's 3 tournaments in each division. And in order to be invited to the championship based on points or to achieve a title of Team of the Year or something like that, you have to complete a full division. And the nice thing is that those tournaments are really fairly close to one another, usually so that most people that would be fishing it could not have to have more than maybe an 8 or 10 hour drive at the most, and then maybe have 1 or 2 tournaments right in their backyard. So it's kind of a nice setup for folks where they can pick 3 tournaments pretty close to where they live, and if they want to, they can pick up a 4th tournament. We call it the MWC Challenge, and by adding that 4th tournament, they really improve their odds of being able to be invited to the championship, and that's where our Team of the Year comes from, is the Challenge group. The guys out in the Dakotas are very excited, and western Minnesota, about this division. We're going to be at Mobridge, Lake Oahe, the first weekend in May, which should be fantastic. Everybody's pretty excited about that for an event. Then we move out to Devil's Lake, North Dakota, in the middle of July. The dates are July 25th and 26th, toward the end of July. And that's going to be in conjunction with the Cabela's NTC National Team Championship as well. So that's a 200 to 250 boat tournament plus hours running together. So that's going to be a really big and exciting event. And our 3rd stop in the West Division is at Webster, South Dakota on Walleye Lake. And that's September 12th and 13th, and that'll round out the West Division. Central Division starts out with the Daytona 500 of walleye fishing, which is Spring Valley, Illinois, the Illinois River, and for a lot of folks it is just the official end of cabin fever. And that's March 28th and 29th. We then go to pools 3 and 4 on the Mississippi River out of Lake City, Minnesota for our 2nd stop in the Central, May 16th and 17th. And then on to Marinette, Menominee on the Bay of Green Bay for July 11th and 12th. We start off at the Detroit River in April. It's the last weekend in April, the 25th and 26th. We will have boundaries that include, weather permitting, the Michigan part of Lake Erie as well as Detroit River. Then the 2nd stop is the last weekend in May for Sandusky, Ohio, and that'll be more of the big lake, and that should be fantastic as well in May. And then we move to the Eastern Basin for Lake Erie for Dunkirk, New York, and that's August 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And for both the Sandusky and the Dunkirk tournaments, we actually schedule 3 days for the 2-day tournament, because when you're on that big water on Lake Erie, pretty likely you're going to get a blow, and we'd like to get the best chance we have for 2 days on the water. The championship will be its 3rd year out of Dundee, Michigan, which is where the Cabela's store is located. It's about 17 miles inland from Lake Erie, and so depending on the weather, we either head out to the lake or we drive up to Elizabeth Park in Trenton and go out on the river. But it gives us that option from the store, and we do the weigh-in at the store, and we enjoy that. So 3rd year in a row that we'll be out at Lake Erie again. The team format has been strong for 25 years. This is our 25th year. I wouldn't say we've seen necessarily growth in the sense of more people wanting to fish in team format, but what we have seen is growing that concept at the MWC pinnacle level geographically. So from years ago, where the MWC pretty much existed just in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, maybe UP, Michigan kind of geography, today we're actually seeing that all the way in the Dakotas now with our West Division, all the way across to New York, Ohio, Eastern Michigan for East Division. So that's really spread us out to take this concept a little further. I think that the team format is really the appeal for the MWC, and there's a couple different reasons why that comes into play. First of all, you get to choose who you fish with, and for a lot of folks that makes a lot of difference in terms of being able to spend that time in the boat with someone who's a brother or a son or a dad or wife or best friend or cousin, and it's a different kind of experience to be able to share that time together. And that makes it really special. And we know that time is our most precious commodity. So being able to spend time, whether you cash a check or not, whether you identify yourself as having to be professional defined by how much money you make fishing or not, in the MWC you can still achieve the competitive juices that you want and still compete at a really tough level. And when you succeed, it feels so good, and you've done that with someone that's important to you. So that's one of the things I think is most important about it. The second thing is, when I say it's a really difficult competitive level, it's probably the most challenging circuit to be successful in, because when you put two people in the boat who can strategize together, who can function strengths and weaknesses off of one another, you have a stronger team, I believe, than just randomly pairing someone together. And I know from having interviewed so many of the winners over the years that knowing just who they were and that they could talk to each other in a different way in the boat, pep talk if need be, or a calm down talk if need be, makes a difference. There are certain situations where if a stranger were to say, hey, calm down, let's think about our strategy, you'd want to punch him in the nose. But if it's your buddy that you've been fishing with for 15 years, or your cousin or your brother, they might be able to say, hey, now hold on, let's not abandon the spot, let's think about our strategy again, let's regroup. You stop and take a deep breath and rethink it. So I think it's that kind of thing that makes for an even stronger team, which means you've got to be good to win in the circuit. There's also an aspect, some people who maybe aren't as familiar with team fishing don't realize that because we're team format, we're even more crucially aware of the fact that we have to marshal the field of competition. And we take it extremely seriously. And because it's a format of all team, they themselves, these anglers, are very focused to make sure that it's absolutely above board and that it is something where it's a fair playing field. And we take that very seriously. And the guys and gals that fish the NWC marshal it very well. And sometimes that means that I might have to put an observer in a boat if I really feel that I am warranted to do that. I'm totally okay with that. In most cases, it works out just fine, and you learn a little something from that. And then in a few cases, there are just some people that you say, we're going to just go our separate ways. You can go fish someplace else, but that's not really going to be a fit for us in this circuit. And so we're very conscious of that, and that the team format might have some room in some people's mind for that, but you've got 100 or 200 teams, that's 200 to 400 people, they're all worried about it too. So they take it very seriously, and we just make sure that we have up and up people on the circuit. I have encouraged the MWC anglers to join the NPAA and have been a supporting sponsor for many years and been at this meeting for many years. And I would encourage them to join because I really think they learn so much about growing in their professionalism of the sport. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean that you earn your sole living in the arena of sport fishing. Most MWC anglers don't. Most MWC anglers are home builders or computer programmers or very successful business people. But they still are professional in their fishing endeavors. And I think coming to something like this opens their eyes to sponsorship opportunities, gets them thinking about product knowledge and how they can be advocates for their sponsors with regards to product and selling. And it encourages ethical and sportsmanship kinds of behavior on the behalf of the competitors. And I know from my perspective, that's one of the reasons why I'm actively involved. The more professional and sportsmanlike the anglers, the better the circuit.